People are not gonna like this, but it works for me. So I'm a night owl, so I'll go sleep 2, 3 a.m. Normally pray and then go sleep.
Okay.
And then I'll wake up pre-London in bed, my phone. I'll enter my trade and I'll go back to sleep. And I just let the trade do what it needs to do.
Welcome everyone back to the Words of Rizdom Podcast. This is the podcast where we talk about people's journeys, especially within the trading space, and we like to speak to professional, successful, even those still on the journey as well. Thank you everyone for crossing over 40,000 subscribers. We're closing in on our goal of 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I think we'll do it, and it's all thanks to your support. But today we are joined by, and I know you're very excited about it based on the feedback so far, we are joined by Rahat. How you doing, bro?
I'm good, bro. How are you?
I'm okay. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
People don't know, me and Rahat actually filmed, about a month and a half ago?
2 months ago?
Yeah, around that time. And unfortunately, we had a technical issue just as we were preparing the episode. And this is Thursday. This episode's coming out on Sunday. And luckily and thankfully, Rahat accepted to come back down to refilm. So, thank you. Sorry about that.
No worries, man. It's good for me as well when I get asked a lot of questions. So now I could just send them the podcast link and that's that.
Make it easier for you. That's it. Well, you know how we like to begin. We like to begin by getting into your journey. And I know you've already told me your journey, but luckily people out there haven't seen it. So just tell us how you got to where you are today. It can be as brief or as long as you want. It's completely up to you.
Yeah, so I started trading back in 2017, when I was 18, 19. So like most people, I started off with, scrolling through Instagram, you see someone saying, oh, this guy is doing signals X, Y, Z. So I didn't actually start off with Forex. I started off with binary options. So at that time I was working, normal job, hustling. And then obviously I got introduced to binary options. I started the signals with the guy. The guy, in general, he wasn't a bad trader or anything. It was more just, obviously, when you're working in a retail environment and you're earning, £80, £100, £120 a day, and then you can make that within 5 minutes in binary options, it's obviously the greed kicks in.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, so what happened, he would probably give a good trade and then he'll only send one trade a day. So after that, I'll be like, oh, if he could do it, I could do it. So, put a trade on and I'll lose.
Yeah.
And so that kept happening. And I was going with the flow of that. And then what happened was I started working and then all the money that I would make from work just go straight into my binary options account and I just lose it. So I just blow account. And it actually got to a point where I started taking money off my mom without her knowing. So I still remember I used to go downstairs, I used to get her card, enter the card details on, for anyone that knows, it's called IQ options.
Yes.
Enter her card and I'll take £1,000 and then I'll put £1,000 thinking to myself that I've got more money, I can make more. That didn't work out, so I blew the 1,000 and then put another 1,000, and then next thing you know, literally my mum's account had nothing in it, £1,000 or £2,000 in it. So I managed to go through about £20,000. Wow! And it wasn't just I deposited £20,000. It was 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 2,000. And it literally got to a point where I memorized my mum's card details, so I didn't even have to go downstairs and get a card. I just know the numbers, so I'll just enter it. And then
what happened with that though? What was the
consequences?
The consequences, yeah. How long did you get away with that?
So I managed to get away with it for about 2 years, 1.5 years.
Wow. Were you doing it slowly, were you?
No. This was in the space of a week or two, £20,000 down the drain. But obviously my mom didn't know. So for a good, I want to say a year and a half, she didn't realize, because obviously she came to this country when she was young. I think she came when she was 4 or 5. She knows the language and everything, but technology-wise, she's a bit behind. Okay, yeah. So obviously she doesn't know about mobile banking and stuff. But I still remember, so I'll get into that after. So what happened was I used to start, obviously I wanted trading to work. So what would happen was, the only thing on my mind was I need to make £20,000 and I need to make it as soon as possible.
Of course.
And that's literally the worst mindset to have in trading, because if you chase money, it runs away. So I've always been like a hustler, like as in I would do like I've never had like a corporate job like 9 to 5 or anything. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. But like I will always be doing like Uber Eats, Deliveroo, Amazon Flex. But then the same thing will happen where when I get paid, obviously I'm trying to make the £20,000 back. So I'll put that in a trading account, and then next thing you know, it's gone.
Yeah.
And that cycle happened for like that was in binary options for about a year, let's say a year and a half. And then I want to say 2019, I got introduced to Forex.
Okay.
And that was through IML. But I always was skeptical about the network marketing part. I wanted to be an actual trader. So I remember at that time they used to give signals, and there would be like a pip counter, how many pips they count.
Yeah.
So obviously you see like 600 pips, put £1 a pip, £600. I'm thinking to myself, that's great. I can make this 20,000 back as soon as possible.
Yeah.
That didn't work out. I done it for a month, and then that same psychology from binary options came into Forex, where same thing, £200 accounts, £300 accounts, £500, £1,000, blown left, right, and centre. So that happened for this was back in 2019 or 2018, around that time. And then prop firms came around, and that was, from what I know, I was one of the first. I wasn't one of the first people, but then again, I didn't know no one, because obviously a trader doesn't really, unless you're networking online.
Yeah.
You don't really. But I think it was back in 2020 I started FTMO. I remember thinking to myself, this is great. Let me just backtrack a little bit as well. So I was going out of uni at the time, and what I done was I done a year and a half. So I done 1 year, and then I done half a semester, and then I was like, you know what? I said to myself, I'm not going to drop out. I'm going to take a gap year. I'm going to fully focus on trading. Bearing in mind, this time I still had no money, nothing. So for 1 year, I ended up taking a 2-year gap year, so not 1 year, 2 years. That didn't work out as well. Forex, blowing accounts left, right, and centre. Probably blew 50, 100 accounts, probably more than that. Because it builds up £50, £100, you just keep depositing.
Yeah, just small amounts over and over.
It's crazy how much you end up losing.
Yeah. Do you know how much you probably lost in those small accounts, roughly?
Including the 20,000?
No, separate to 25.
Just the £50?
Yeah.
Let's just put it like this. From the age of 19 to 23, 24, I was like, I had no money. I'll have like £50 in my account, £100. I'll literally pay obviously back then you just have like £40, £50 phone bills. You don't really have big expenses, but everything else would go into a trading account, blown. I'll probably say I couldn't give you a number.
Just thousands.
£50,000.
Oh, wow.
Probably even more than that, I don't know. It adds up. And then you also start doing the stupid stuff like flipping accounts. So you put £50 in, you flip it to £500. You think, I could do 50 to 500. Now I could do 500 to 5,000.
Yeah.
But then obviously it doesn't work like that. Psychologically, the numbers, it's too big. It gets too big for you, basically. So, so same thing as prop firms. So 2020, I want to say end of 2020, I started FTMO. And literally the same thing as the personal accounts and binary options. It's just, I was buying accounts and I was blowing them. If you see it got to a point where I had to make a new FTMO email address because there was so many failed.
You couldn't see it anymore.
Yeah, I was like, nah, this ain't it. So I made a new one, FTMO, and then obviously back then there was funding talent as well.
Yes.
Luckily, I didn't get funded with them, so nothing happened. But yeah, FTMO and funding talent were the main ones. But prop firms in general, I probably blew 50 plus, and I'm talking 100k accounts because at the time I had a big ego. So I was thinking to myself, six figures.
Yeah.
Even though it's technically you get 10% that you can lose.
So that's like 25k almost there.
Yeah, probably more. I don't even know, man. It's just, it got to a point where it's just stupid numbers.
And whilst you're doing it, obviously, as you're going through that, you got the 20k, and then as it's getting more and more, you're going, now it's 25k I need to make, 30k I need to make, 40k I need to make.
But even then, the money I lost, I didn't really care about. It was more just that I need to pay my mum back. Because when that happened, I still remember she gave me a phone call, and I must have been doing like a Uber Eats delivery or something. And I just got a phone call from my sister saying, I logged into mum's account. I keep seeing minus £1,000, £2,000 from IQ options. And then obviously that's when it hit me what have I done?
What was that conversation like?
So my mum didn't talk to me for like a day. And then after she was just...
A day?
A day, yeah. But obviously, even then, like, you feel so guilty. Like,
Of course.
that's technically was my mum's life savings that just blew. But obviously, 4 or 5 years later, you look back at it and it's a lesson. It's like it's like the way people go to uni, for example, pay the price to learn.
Yeah.
That was the price I paid.
What about anyone else in your family? What were they saying to you?
No one knew. It's only my sister and my mum.
They protected you.
Yeah,
They
she
protected you.
I think even till this day, like, I think only recently my brother knows and my other sisters. My dad still doesn't know.
Yeah, but he might find out.
Yeah, if you watch this, Dad, then what can I say?
It's too late. It's too late. But I'm guessing if you paid it back, you sort that out, yeah. What was that feeling like then? Obviously, after going through all the depths of hell, if you will, to now being able to go full circle and return that,
It's crazy because when you look back at it, like, that was like my darkest moment in my life. Like,
I can imagine, yeah.
Bearing in mind, I was 18, 19. Losing £20,000 is a lot of money for 18 to like a 19-year-old back then as well. Like, that's equivalent to, like, if I lost, I don't know, 100 grand today, let's just say.
Yeah, no, 100%. In terms of like going full circle, like, what's that feeling like? Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to explain. Like, obviously, where I am right now, I'm grateful and everything, but like, there's levels to this. Like, I just want to reach the next level. That's why it's like I'm quite focused on just trading.
Definitely.
Don't really sell anything.
Well, let me ask you the main question, right? Which is, how did you change that then? Because a lot of people go through, they might not have gone through the exact same thing where they've taken, say, money from their parents, but they go through the exact same thing in terms of money, in, nothing's coming out. And more importantly, the psychology bit of, I need to make 10K, I need to make 20K. And that's like, as you said, that is no way to trade. And I think the majority of people out there probably have that. So how did you change it? What was it for you that allowed you to get out of that and overcome that?
If I'm being 100% honest with you, there was luck involved. But obviously, if you keep doing something if you keep going and doing something, sooner or later, a little bit of luck's gonna come on your side. So I think the thing that changed it for me is, I think after about 2.5 or 3 years, I got funded, and what happened was I somehow managed to make, I'm not 100, I think it was like a $12,000 payout.
Okay.
But bearing in mind, like, months before this, there were small payouts I was getting, $1,000, $2,000. But then I remember there was one payout I went heavy on risk, and I made $12,001. So you get paid bi-weekly, right? So I made $12,000 and $6,000, and then that's when I don't know what it is. For the people that are funded, they probably will understand. But once you get funded once and you receive a payout, psychologically, what it does is, like, something in your brain just clicks, and just from there on, it just I hate to say it, but it's quite easy. Like, even though it sounds, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, people won't like the sound of that.
Yeah, it's sounding easy, but
if that's how you feel, that's
you can't explain it. Like, because recently one of my mates who's been funded, he started at the same time as me, so back in 2018. But throughout uni, he didn't trade at all. And then only the last 2.5 years, he started trading, and consistently. And I think like 2-3 months ago, he got funded. He's been funded before, but he's lost it. But what happened this time was and he was doing 100K accounts as well. And I told him the same thing, where obviously through my journey, I learned from my mistakes. I was like to him, listen, lower your ego, go for a 50K account. So all of these 100, and within these 2 years, he was losing 100K accounts as well. Not as bad as me, but he was still losing them.
Yeah.
Probably like one a month, let's just say. So he does a 50K account, and then suddenly he passes phase 1, passes phase 2, and he gets funded. And then he received 2 payouts on a 50K account. I think within 2 months he's made about £7,000-8,000.
Yeah.
Now that might not seem like a lot of money, but what you need to realize is, if you're paying, let's just say for example, a 100K account is what, £500 on average,
roughly,
a month. In the course of a year, that's what, £6,000. So in 2 months, he's managed to cover 1 year's worth of losses, like, argument's sake.
Yeah.
So the way that's the best thing about funded accounts. You can lose for months, even like years, but you can make that money back within 2, 3, 4 months, like that. You just got to keep going at it.
So would you say you frame it as like a numbers game? Is that where it becomes easy in terms of, is literally the numbers game that you're playing?
Yeah.
Payouts to cost.
Basically, that's the way I treat prop firms. I'm not me personally, obviously everyone has their opinions, but I'm not too fussed about it. The way you have these scaling plans, For me, it's I'm investing £500. Can I get a return on my investment? And can I make money on top? And as long as I'm in profit, you just rinse and repeat that. And as long as I've got more withdrawals coming in than, challenges going out, for example.
Yeah.
Technically, you're in a profit. But that psychology you can only use that psychology for prop firms. With personal accounts, the psychology is different because you're putting your own money in. So when you lose, and people that trade personal, they even know when you lose on a personal, it hits more than on a prop firm because it's your own money. So even with funded accounts, for example, I trade conservatively, but as I get more payouts, that's when I start getting more aggressive. And that's why some of the payouts I have is the payouts that I have. It's quite big.
So you start off conservative, and as you get more payouts, you'll that's how you
And if I lose the account, I've made my money from that investment. I'll do it again.
Because obviously, when you get your payout, you get your refund. So now it's risk free anyway.
Risk free, and that you actually give less of a shit about the account, which actually makes you trade better. Because you don't have that emotional attachment to it.
Well, I think it's interesting you say that because I think that's what you've done in terms of that's the way you think. And you're not the only one. Like you said, like a lot of these prop firm traders, I've spoken with Paladin, Omar, Kyle, for example, and they have a very similar mindset, similar thought process. And I think that's what it comes down to, how you frame the thought. Because I think equally people, and I think it might come down to, what you were saying before, where people are just thinking about all the money lost and they probably haven't got the best financial foundation. So when they get even if they get one payout and they get the refund, they're still treating it like, I need to make 10 grand. I need to do this. Like, do you have any focus on how much you're trying to make?
So when I get a funded account, I always say to people that message me, aim for 1 to 3%. Just make sure you get that refund back and something on top. Like, even if it's $1 on top, profit is profit. But as long as you get that refund, like what it does to you psychologically is just, I don't know how you explain it. You just end up trading better because you just don't care about the account. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's, for example, now when I do challenges and I lose it, it's like it's sort of like I'm numb to it. Like I've just lost the account. Okay.
You think you kind of framed it as like a casino where okay, I have this pot that I've made. These are all the profits. Yeah, exactly. So me losing these accounts is literally just takes away from the profits, but in essence, I know that, let's say, if you've got a thought process of like, I have a strike rate in my accounts, if that makes sense. So like if I do 3 challenges, I probably lose 2, I might have 1. That 1 will then pay me for 10 more. And it's like the risk to reward of challenges.
More than that. The amount, if you're investing £500, for example, on a 100k account, you can make a decent amount. Obviously, it's not always the case.
Of course.
There's going to be times where you get a funded account, you might get your payout, whatever it is, and then you might lose it. It happens.
Yeah.
Every funded trader, let's be honest, has lost a funded account. You just don't see it on social media because no one
wants to talk about it.
No one wants to talk about it, but that's the way it works basically. But the way I set it up, these prop firms is, so I've got like a bank account, for example, a certain amount of money, and that's like my pot for challenges. And then obviously the withdrawals goes into that. If let's just say arguments, I lose a challenge a month. So what? I've made from my other prop accounts, I made X amount, which covers that. And that pot just keeps growing and growing, like it's compound.
Amazing, yeah.
So that's the way I treat prop firms. But obviously that's prop firms. With personal accounts, it's different.
Do you have a personal account?
I do, but I trade it quite differently.
Yeah.
In the sense of I'll put a certain amount in that I'm willing to lose.
Okay.
And I wouldn't say I'll try flip it, but I trade it really aggressively.
So is it smaller capital in terms of like,
You could say smaller, yeah.
Tens of thousands, less?
Yeah, tens of thousands.
Wow, yeah.
Probably like 10, 20,000.
It's not too small. Not too small.
Not too small. But for me personally, I don't see the...
How's it gone for you?
It's gone good.
Yeah?
That's how about my materialistic stuff. So
interesting.
The prop firm payouts I get, if I have a good month, I'll deposit a certain amount into a personal, and let's just say, for example, I want to buy, X, Y, Z. I think to myself, all right, I've got this a personal account now. If I make the money, I'll buy it. If I don't, I won't buy it, and that's it. It's worked for me, and it hasn't worked for me. But in net, it has worked for me.
Yeah. It's interesting because obviously, most people would be there and be like, oh no, you have to do this, and you have to do, this routine, and you have to do this risk, and you have to treat it like that, the conventional way, basically, right? But it's quite. I think the way you're thinking is conventional for the profitable prop firm traders.
Yeah.
But it's unconventional in terms of what most people think, right?
Yeah.
Especially like with the personal account, etc.
Yeah.
But it works for you. So what do you think when you see all these people with the same sort of information, your same tweets saying do this, do that, and the same posts, and then yet you're doing something completely different, but yet it's working for you, while you see people trying to do this other stuff and it's not working for them?
If it's not broken, don't fix it. Simple.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of good information out there,
Mm-hmm.
but at the end of the day, everyone's unique. They're gonna treat prop firms, personal accounts differently.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, if you haven't realized, a lot of the profitable traders, you'll never see them like saying, "Oh, that strategy is rubbish," or this, that SMC is rubbish, support and resistance don't work, this, that, and the other, supply demand. Because at the end of the day, everyone is trading for the same reason, for money. Let's be real. If you take the money equation out of trading, are you telling me you're gonna sit there looking at candlesticks go up and down for fun? So everyone's trading for money, and then the reason why they want the money is for freedom.
Yeah.
But then you're sitting on the charts actively trading for 10 hours a day. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
The way it should be is you should be doing your learning, spending a lot of time learning, back testing, journaling. Me personally, I don't really back test here and there. I prefer journaling and live trading. Because that's because you realize you do you take a lot of stupid trades, but because you're so emotionally invested into the trade, I'll let it come back to break even and I'll just close it. Next thing you know, it's hit your stop loss. And yeah.
Have you used journaling? So like journaling wise, do you do it manually still, or do you use something like TradeZella?
I use TradeZella.
Yeah.
I used to do it manually, but the only downside with TradeZella at the moment is because obviously funded accounts, they keep giving you new accounts.
Yeah.
You don't have all your data together.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is the reason why I like using E8, because when you receive a profit with them, trade on the same account. If you import it into TradeZella, you've got all the data.
One account, Okay, yeah, and I get you. I think TradeZella, from what I've seen, in the next couple of weeks, they're doing something for challenges and prop firm accounts, so you can I think have them exactly, yeah. That's gonna be sick. It's gonna be incredible. But how much has that helped? Just journaling in general, but also having something like TradeZella, because I know the difference with like journaling yourself and then TradeZella is that TradeZella goes into such depth.
It's crazy the amount of details. But even before getting into TradeZella, I think you should journal manually, because it builds discipline. You have to, when you're winning trades and when you're losing trades, you can't just do it when you're winning trades and everything's, going hunky-dory. You got to do it when you're losing as well. But that builds discipline, and then, it builds the discipline in you, and then you also see patterns.
Yeah.
Journaling. Like, for example, a lot of people say they don't trade on Mondays because it's market's quiet. But for me, Monday is one of my best days. So just because one person says one thing doesn't mean that it caters to you as well.
Yeah, of course.
It's the beauty of trading.
100%. And a lot of people, I think, still fall into that trap. It surprises me because everyone says it, or at least all the profitable people say, follow what you see, follow your path, follow the patterns that you recognize, and yet people still fall into the trap of everyone's saying the market's choppy right now. But then there's equally on the other side, I see people saying this is the best price action.
That happens to me as well, though. Some of the days where I think that the market's choppy, because for me, I prefer trading in consolidations.
Oh, really? Okay.
So because I like buying low and selling high. So when the market's trending and it's gone up, let's just
like
say
now,
GU goes up 70 pips. I don't want to wait for a 10 pip retracement to buy it. I would rather wait for 30, 40 pip retracement and buy it. So when I'm looking at the chart, it looks like I'm buying low. And if it's my stop loss, then at least I bought low.
Definitely, 100%. I understand what you mean. But in regards to your style, then, what style of trading are you doing? How are you going about that?
I have no idea what I trade is. Some people say it's SMC. I don't think it is, because I mean, you can say I trade SMC, but you can also say I trade retail, because I do both. Because the way I trade, it's not based on London session. I don't use price action. I just enter at a certain time. Yeah. And I use a static risk to reward, and I just let the trade run. Whereas in New York, that's when it's more price action based. So and then on top of that, I use retail stuff. For example, psychological lines like GU 1.0, 1.07, or price gets there and it shows rejection,
Yeah.
I'll just sell it. And like, I've tried not SMC, but I've tried. I don't know. You could say it's SMC. I've tried using the 5 pip stop loss. It doesn't work for me.
Yeah, what sort of average stop loss or stop size do you use?
15 to 30, 15 to 20. It just depends on how big the range is. Because I trade mainly the Asia range, and then obviously London Open. I'm looking for which Asia high or low hasn't been taken, and that's what I'm targeting.
Yeah.
So I'll enter pre-London 10-15 minutes before. I use my static risk to reward, and then I just let the trade do what it needs to do. If it hits TP, great. If it hits stop loss, same thing, great. You're gonna lose.
Yeah.
Like, one thing about trading is like one of the key things it's taught me is you have to learn how to lose. If you don't learn how to lose, you shouldn't be trading.
Definitely. How did you lose? Sorry. How did you learn how to lose? How did you lose, man? Tell me. But how did you learn how to lose? Like, how did you go through that process?
I think it's just experience and intuition. Like, when you've been doing it for so long, you just realize you have to lose. Like, you just have to. Like, a business lose. Like, for example, a corner shop, if they buy stock, they're not selling all the stock. There might be 1 or 2 items that get damaged. They lose money technically, but overall, they're still making a profit.
Yes.
So that's the way you got to frame your mindset. So, unless there's someone out there with 100% win rate, give me a message. We can talk.
Yeah, but that's the interesting thing. So, like, when people talk about the small stop losses, the smart money concepts, and they say, 1 to 100 risk to rewards, etc. Yeah. If there was someone doing it, like, I think it's possible. Yeah, sure. 100%. I think it's possible if you're trading a grand, let's say £1,000. It's easy to hold a 1 to 100 through drawdown or whatever it may be.
0.01 lot size.
Yeah, to 2K, for example, right? But when it's 100 grand.
It's 100 grand and you see floating, 80, 90,000.
And it comes all the way back to 40.
Comes down. Yeah. News comes out, FOMC goes the other way. 80 grand has gone to 1 grand.
There you go, exactly.
That's the part people don't see, the psychology. Like, even when you're trading accounts, you should scale up slowly. So, like, if you're going through the funding routes, for example, don't go with 100K just because it's 6 figures.
Yeah.
And it's not, because if you lose 10%, you lose the account. But, start with the 25s. Like, if I was to start again, what I would do is I'll start with the smaller accounts, the 25Ks, 10Ks, 50Ks, and then I'll receive payouts from those accounts, and then I'll invest them into the larger accounts. And then slowly you're going to build the psychology for the bigger numbers.
Exactly, yeah.
Because
it's gradual, rather.
Yeah, it's gradual. You have to work your way up. That's the way it is. That's the way I think it is.
It's something that Eunice said on the podcast that came out recently, which is like the fastest route is the slowest route.
100%.
And again, like, everyone says it, but how many people actually understand
emotions take over.
Yeah, it's true. It's very easily done. Like, in regards to, like, your routine then, so, like, what does your routine look like in terms of day to day?
My routine?
You're sleeping on time,
people are not going to like this, but it works for me, so I'm a night owl, so I'll go sleep 2, 3 a.m. I normally pray and then go sleep.
Okay.
And then I'll wake up pre-London, in bed, my phone. I'll enter my trade and I'll go back to sleep. And I just let the trade do what it needs to do.
Yeah.
And then I'll wake, and it's worked for me because obviously December, when I got interviewed with True Forex Fund, that was my best month. And that month, if you go back to the video and see, every single day in December was a green day.
Wow.
And even, like, for me, it was like, I think that whole month I lost 3 trades and everything. It was a freak month. Everything was hitting take profit. But then, with the experience that I have, obviously I knew that, all right, this is a freak month. Next month, I need to humble myself. Because that month was a crazy month for me. I think I'd done, I forgot what it was. It's on my Twitter. I think it was 40%.
Wow.
Oh, no. It was something like that, 30-40%. So bi-weekly. But yeah, after that, the lessons that I've learned from losing, even back in the days, buying an option, you learn to humble yourself. You got to stay humble. Because the market doesn't give a shit about your feelings, basically. If you lose 10 trades in a row, you can lose 11. It's a computer.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, people say that you're trading against the banks or algorithm, whatever. You're trading against yourself. Let's be real. It's you versus you. Because you're the one that's clicking the button. You're the one that's working at the risk management. You're the one using your psychology. So that's the way I see it.
I like that. I think it's a very good point because, as you say, there's so many people wasting time arguing about an algorithm, arguing about, if it's buying or selling pressure or institutions. But I think what you said there is so much more important. Like if people focused on that first, and then they can argue about it later, cool, whatever. But I think if people focused on it first, they wouldn't even be care. They wouldn't care about arguing.
I don't like with me. I always see on Twitter people talking about algorithms, buying, selling pressure. I don't really care. Like I just want my take profit to hit or my stop loss.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, one of them are gonna hit your stop loss or your take profit or break even.
So what do you see, or when you think, when you see these things on like Twitter, etc., of like these arguments, or SMC is the way to trade, or this big hype around SMC, for example? Like, what are your thoughts around all that?
My honest opinion, I really don't give a shit. Like honestly, but at the end of the day, if it works for you, then that's like I know people that trade ICT, SMC, and it works, and I'm happy for them because we're in the same game. We're here to make money. At the end of the day, there's people. I know some guy on YouTube. I've seen him for like the last 4 or 5 years. He trades support and resistance. Literally, it goes into a support. It goes into a support. He buys, and it goes into a resistance, and he sells, and he makes millions.
Wow!
And then you got, SMC traders, ICT traders. You got all these traders trading with like 5 pip stop losses, 10 pip stop losses, and it's not working for them. And then they'll be messaging me saying, like people for some reason assume that I just trade ICT. I don't trade ICT. I've watched probably 5 or 10 videos of ICT, and I'm actually happy I am because a lot of the other stuff that, like from the looks of it on Twitter, it looks so complicated. Like higher time frame, this goes here, this goes here, this goes here. Then you drop down one time frame. This has to go here, this has to go here. Order block, breaker blocks, all of this stuff. But for me, I just keep it simple. Just static risk to reward. Look at Asia high, look at Asia low. Place your trade and go about your day.
Yeah. I love it. I love to hear it, because the beauty of what I do is I speak to so many traders. Right? I speak to not only traders now, I'm speaking to, the podcast that's dropping in a couple of hours from now is with the funded trader CEO of Angelo, for example. So I'm starting to speak to like prop firm owners and software developers and so on. And it's so interesting because there is like so many different styles, so many different thoughts. And the ones who are doing it at a high level and successful, they literally don't care. That's the main thing, right? They don't care. They don't get assigned to like a very specific way of thinking and like start defending something or stuff like that.
And they're the lucky ones because they got all the data for the traders. So they can probably fill out like 2, 3, 5 pip stop losses, whatever. And the people probably using bigger stop losses or what people assume to be bigger stop losses. They're probably looking at it thinking, these are the ones that are making majority of the money. Obviously, at the end of the day, there are people. And I know people personally that trade with like 4 pip stop losses.
Yeah, same. 100%.
So you've got to find what works for you.
Yeah, no, 100%. And obviously, in terms of like payouts, prop firm wise, how's that been looking at the moment then? So you went from minus maybe 50 to 70K or something.
No idea.
What's the flip side? What's the positive?
The positive is if you don't give up, sooner or later it clicks. And then the way people say, not in an egotistical way, but it is sort of like printing money. Once you have the skill set, you found what's worked for you, and everything is there.
So I have a reel, right, that I put out.
I've seen that reel.
You've seen that reel, right?
1 million one.
Yeah, exactly.
A couple million.
So it's like, I said, Forex lifestyle is easy. Once you have the skill set, right? So as someone who has the skill set, what would your opinion be of that?
It's true. It's true. Once you have the skill set, it is. I wouldn't say it's easy. It's easier. Because trading is difficult. There's a reason why 95% of people lose or don't make money. The 90-90-90 rule.
Of course, yeah.
So it's not easy, but if you keep at it, it gets easier. Because for me personally, I think it's just mostly psychology, like 80%. Because if you think about the amount of times, for example, the people listening that you've blown accounts or it's mostly down to emotions. Yeah. Which is why I also say to people that message me, as a rule of thumb, 1 or 2 trade subs a day. Focus on 1 or 2 pairs and focus on like 1 or 2% risk, or you can, depending on how aggressive you are or conservative, you can risk 1% a day or 0.5. It just depends on your trading style. Yeah. At the end of the day, because I'm using a lower risk to reward, my risk to rewards are 1 hour, 1.5, 2 hours, 2.5s, very rarely 3. But it's mainly around the 2 hour mark. So what that means for me is my losing streaks is more likely not going to be as bad as someone with, for example, 1 to 5. 1 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
And it's when you have them losing streaks, that's when you got to have the discipline to keep at your system. Because everyone has losing streaks. It's normal losing trades. The same way you have winning trades, winning streaks.
Yeah, no, 100%.
It's like another point. When price goes like 1 pip from your take profit and your reverses, and hits your stop loss, or break even, people will get mad at that, but they won't see when price is 1 pip from the stop loss and you reverse the other way. They just, a TP hit.
Yeah.
So it works both ways. So in general, it evens out in the long run.
So every possibility is going to happen. That's why I like to say, there's going to be trades that break even, trades where it nearly goes break even, hits TP, trades that hit break even and go to TP, some that hit, nearly go to TP and go to stop loss, or vice versa.
So many different scenarios. Once you've been doing it for such a long time, you just get used to all of it.
Exactly.
Like even recently, one of my friends who started trading 3-4 months ago, the candle wouldn't even close, but it would be 1 pip from his take profit, and he'll start retracing a little bit. The candle hasn't even closed. Oh, it's reversing now. I'm like, relax, it'll hit your TP, and if it doesn't, so what? Break it. Move your when price goes near my take profit and starts reversing a little bit, or like aggressively reversing, that's the only time I move my stop loss to entry. Otherwise, I just leave it, just let it run.
Definitely. No, I think you have to, obviously, especially if it's part of your plan. And again, I think experience comes into it. But you mentioned a couple of things there, which I want to touch on. One I'll touch on briefly, which is the lower risk to reward. As you mentioned about, when you have a higher risk to reward, for example, and when we say high, we're saying 1 to 5, let's say.
1 to 2.
Yeah, definitely. But even like 1 to 5.
For me, that's high. For someone else, that might be normal.
Yeah. There's always different perceptions, but I would say 1 to 5 to 10 is on the higher side, right? But as you said about strike rate, strike rate would then naturally be a bit lower.
Statistically, if you have a higher risk to reward, you're more likely going to lose. Obviously, there's going to be exceptions out there, people that like sick traders, basically.
Yeah, there's always the anomaly, like the 1%ers or 0.1%.
Probably someone out there with a 80% strike rate with a 1 to 5, 1 to 10. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe more.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I'm happy for him. He's got a system. It works for him. He's making money.
Exactly.
Happy.
That's how it should be, right? But for you, has the lowest risk to reward actually helped you? As you mentioned about psychology, which is the next thing I want to bring up, but the 1 to 2s, the 1 to 1s, 1 to 3s, like in that range, has it helped with your psychology to be able to handle
1
losses?
to 1s especially. People downplay 1 to 1 so much. They don't realize that 1 to 1s is literally basically a 50% like strike rate.
Yeah.
Because your stop loss and your TP are going to be the same distance apart. So what it's going to do naturally is you're going to naturally be hitting more take profits. So the greed, all of that comes out of it, if that makes sense. Because if you have a 1R and a 1R stop loss, and then even on top of that, your trade has more breathing room. So you don't, if there's a low which you expect the market to respect, and news comes out, for example, not big news, but something PPI, and it wicks down 5-10 pips below it, the 1 to 1 saves you. And then also less losing streaks, which is good for your psychology. More likely to have less losing streaks. And then in general, I think 1 to 1s is what changed my trading.
Wow.
Because when I started to become profitable, I went to 1 to 1s, and then I started building my way up back to the 1 to 2s, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
the scaling thing.
Yeah. The data I've got with the 1 to 1s I've used, and I've seen stuff like, Mondays is my good day. So even on Mondays, some days I might risk a little bit more because I know that's my good day.
Yeah.
Typically speaking, the market on a Monday just consolidates, which is good.
And were you able to see that only through journaling. And through having that data?
Journaling and backtesting.
So it's interesting you say that, because it was something I was saying to someone the other day, literally, I think yesterday actually, it was the same thing. Like I said to them, stick to 1 to 3. I could say lower, but I say stick to 1 to 3 because they're trying to get to 1 to 5. So I'm like, consistently do 1 to 3 first, and then from the data, you will learn, can you change? Maybe you can't change it, but 1 to 3 is enough. Yeah, that's fine. But more than likely, you're going to find, as you said, like, a particular day or a particular setup or a particular circumstance that allows you to say or have trust or confidence that this could be 1 to 5 or 1 to 10 or whatever, right? But the only way to do it is to do that work first. I think everyone's trying to guess.
People don't want to do the dirty work. They just want to go straight into it. Have it all easy. That's not how it works. You got to do the dirty work. There's probably anomalies out there, people that just clicks for them.
Yeah, there is.
With everything in life. But in general, you got to do the dirty work. The journaling, that's like journaling and back testing. Even with me, like now, I don't really back test. But back in the days, 2-3 years ago, I've got Excel sheets of back testing. Like just random strategies. I don't know what I was doing. But I've still got the back testing. I still do it.
You still put the time in the charts.
Yeah.
It's interesting though. I really like to hear it. And then you mentioned about psychology obviously being the major part. Was there anything specifically psychology-wise, like, a lot of people refer to books or courses or seminars. Was there anything like that for you?
I don't really read books, to be honest. I've only read one book when I was younger, like 17, 18. I think that's what changed my mindset from, the sort of 9 to 5 to the entrepreneurship. And that was Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yes.
And luckily, my brother gave that to me.
Really?
Yeah, so if he's watching this, shout out to him.
There you go.
He was the one that changed the mindset. But
goes to show like a small thing.
Yeah.
Him just giving you a book has now led you on this
It's
path.
actually much deeper than that. Do you know what used to happen? So he was at the time 22, 23. He's 5 years older than me. So at the time he was 22, 23. And so at that time, I think I was year 6, so secondary school or like first year college. And then obviously I used to go to college or school, come home, I used to play Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
Of course, yeah.
And I used to be on my headset playing with my friends. And then in the background, I used to always hear him say to his mates that are talking, "Oh, look at the way people live. They go to uni, get a job, pay the mortgage off, then die." That's literally like the 4 steps. But obviously, at that age, you don't have that mentality. But I think slowly, as I started to grow up, I started to realize, like, it's actually true. Like, people literally just wake up in the morning, go to work, come home. The rat race, basically.
That's it. Yeah.
Nowadays, it's called Matrix. Back in 5-6 years ago, it's called rat race.
That's it. Yeah. It's changed.
But yeah, so obviously over time, that I started to realize that, and even in general, like I've always been that guy that buys and sells phones. I remember in secondary school, year 5, year 6, I used to buy Blackberries. These are for the 90s babies, probably. I used to buy a Blackberry 8520 or 8900 for £30 on eBay. I would buy a screen on eBay for £30, that's £60, and I'll sell it for £90, £100. I'll make £40.
Nice.
So yeah, that sort of mentality I sort of always had. Like, I just want to do my own thing.
Yeah. You always had it there. You always had a work ethic, a work rate. Again, getting your hands dirty. It's easy just to buy a phone, have a phone, and that's it. Rather than going out your way to make a business out of it or make some form of income out of it.
Like cars, watches, like at the end of the day, it's a piece of metal. But when you've done the dirty work and you've been through the like hard times in life, when you look at it, you think to yourself, like, I've actually, like, you think about them times. So it's much deeper than like just a car, for example.
Yeah.
Or like a watch.
So that's what I was going to ask you, actually. Obviously, you've gone through this whole journey and now, you've recently bought the watch or bought the car, right? Yeah. So, what was that like for you, having those moments now?
I don't know. It's hard to explain. Obviously, I'm happy, I'm grateful, but I just want to reach the next levels. Like, there's always new levels you can reach. So for me, I'm just focused on reaching the next level. At the end of the day, like, materialistic stuff is all good, but when you have house bills or stuff like that, parents ask you for money or whatever, you can just give it to them. That I think that's more, what's the word?
Meaningful.
More meaningful, yeah. Like, it just hits you, like, yeah, basically that.
They make you emotional, is it?
Not emotional, but like,
it makes you think, right? It makes you reflect and realize. People talk about freedom, but they've never experienced it, or a lot of people unfortunately haven't experienced it yet. But then when you experience it, it's something different. It's like there's not really a way of explaining it, but when it's finally there, you're like, oh wow. Or then when you reflect then and have that moment,
it's like,
and you think about those low moments. Yeah. What do you think?
That's what makes the journey worth it, basically. But yeah, like, even the people that are trading, for example, they might be going through hard times. Like, I know how it feels. It's like you're literally like in a little box, and you just how do I get out of this little box?
Were there any specific little steps that allowed you to change? I know you said luck in one sense with that the payout and stuff, but at the end of the day, you must have changed a little few things to get funded. A little few things in the mindset, a little few things technical wise that must have aligned for that lucky moment to take place, if you will.
One of the key moments for me was when I was break even, at my break even stage, I used to trade on my screen. So I've got 2 screens, 3 screens, whatever. I used to have one screen on the charts, and I used to have one screen of Roger Banks.
The legend.
Shout out to Roger Banks. I don't trade nothing like him, but I respect him as a trader. But he used to always bang on about 1 to 2 trades a day. 1 to 2 trades a day. All you need to do is 1 to 2 trades a day. And then, obviously, the way I see it is, he's in a position that I would want to be in. So he must be saying something right. So I was like, you know what? Let me try this 1 to 2 trades. And for me, that's what changed everything. Literally 1 or 2 trades or 1 or 2 trade setups. You're going to have the days where, you know, you do to 3, 4 trades. It happens. But as a whole, for me, that's what changed everything. 1 or 2 trades a day.
Really?
Because even now, I just place my trades. Sometimes by London Open, I'll place my trade 15 minutes to an hour or 2 hours. My TP hits, I'm done. I literally don't care about the charts. The charts can go up 10,000 pips. I do not care. Come back the next day and just do the same thing over and over again. That's the part people don't see as well. Trading is really boring. They think, obviously, the monetary side of it is all good, but in general, it's really boring. Like, you're literally just doing the same thing over and over again. But I don't know. I think it's just the emotion that makes you want more.
Yeah, no, of course. It's like you said, the levels, right? I think the challenge side of it and the uncapped potential makes it intriguing. Yeah, it makes you want to, you know, push further. And at the end of the day, like you said, you're tasting the freedom. You're tasting what it can do for your life, you know?
Even now, like, I've had like 5-figure months multiple times, like the past year. But now it's like, I want to reach 6 figures. I want to know what sort of struggles, what sort of risk I need to take for me to get to 6 figures. It's not just about the monetary. Obviously, the monetary value is good.
It's like open the skill.
It's also about the journey as well. Like, it's like the same way, like, if I see someone driving in a Lamborghini on the road, obviously, nice car and everything, I think to myself, but for me, I wonder what that guy does. I wonder what struggles he went through. It's
a different mindset.
Yeah.
It's a different way of thinking. Yeah. No, I think it's a very powerful thing because it's going from, I wish I had that, to
how had you got that? What risk did you take?
Yeah, you're thinking a different way.
Yeah, that's the way I think.
I respect that. No, 100%. And I'm sure Raja would love hearing you say that. But I think, honestly, I think that is one of the biggest things because, as you said, like, he's banging on about it, right? I've done, up till now, I've done 3 podcasts with him now. And in every single one, it's the same thing.
Same thing.
Right? Any advice, anytime I've said to him, what advice would you give to traders? That's all it is. 1 or 2 trades, 1 or 2 pairs.
1 or 2 pairs.
I think 1 or 2 sessions, something like that. Right? And that's it. That's all his advice is. And
simple.
Feedback-wise, from yourself as a testament, but other people as well, same exact thing. Same exact thing. It's like that is, and I think a big part of it is literally just because it's like, okay, you've limited yourself. That's it. Because I would say to people, I said to someone yesterday, same thing, where I said, if people had the discipline to do this, which is the real struggle, but that's why I think it would work, is if someone said, I only trade 1 hour a day, with 1 or 2 trades a day, on 1 or 2 pairs a day, and that's it, they'd probably be way more profitable. 100%. Will they take losses? Yes. Will they have all those other things that we've said? Yes.
The way people think is, they think trading is like a corporate job where you have to go in at 9 o'clock, come out at 5 o'clock. So they think, okay, I have to go on the charts at 9 o'clock and get off at 5 o'clock. But you do have to do that at the beginning in the sense of getting the experience from the market and, you know, you recognize your own patterns and stuff. But once you've got that edge and your system, I think you should be spending as least time as possible on the charts. Because even Roger Banks, he said it as well from your podcast, humans can make 1 or 2 emotional decisions a day.
Yeah.
So that obviously lines up with 1 or 2 trade setups a day as well. So it all just makes sense, basically.
Definitely. No. Hey, at the end of the day, man, it worked for you and it works for you still. That's all that matters. Like we said, like, it works for you. There'll be someone else though who needs to take 10 trades a day and it works for them, right?
Someone else might take 0.1%, but take 10 trades.
Yeah, exactly. It's same thing. One question I did have for you, and I know a lot of people are wondering, is how you manage your funded accounts, right? Okay. Do you merge them all? Do you copy them all? Or what's your setup?
So, literally recently, probably like the last week, I started merging some of them. I don't merge them all because it's too much risk exposure. But back before, I used to just trade them separately. So I'll just go on each account, and because most of my trades are limits more time than not.
Okay.
So I would go on each one, but now it's sort of like I'm linking 1 or 2 together. Like 1 or 2 funded accounts together, another 2 funded accounts, and then the challenges, same thing. But even then, I do sort of it's linked, but I do it manually as well because I have different funded accounts for different risk. So you got to bear in mind that, like I said earlier, when I do start receiving more payouts, that's when I'll probably unlink it and then I'll go more aggressive on that. I might risk a bigger percentage, and that's how I'm able to get the bigger payouts.
Do you ever think about trying to scale, like get on a scaling plan or anything, or do you literally don't care?
Recently, I have. I'll be honest, but the reason why is because I want to get a little bit less conservative. Because obviously, the good part about being an aggressive trader is you can also do conservative. But a conservative trader might find it harder to be aggressive. That makes sense.
Yes, that makes sense. Yeah.
So I'm able to tone it down from aggressive to conservative. So recently I was thinking of it, trying to. Right now I've got $800,000 or something in challenges, and it's been like 16 days, and I'm still like nailing off break even. I'm just floating around.
Okay.
One of them is funded actually, so it's like the funded trader one. That one, the one that was funded. But yeah, the other one I'm just conservatively, because obviously it's a bigger amount now. I'm going to trade it conservatively. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And they're all linked together. But yeah, that's how I go about it. Just same thing.
Definitely. So in terms of like choosing how you risk, rather than it being like, I don't know, this particular prop firm might have more drawdown, so therefore I risk more. It's more based on the payouts you've got.
Yeah.
That's how you decide it.
It's basically like the more I abuse the more payouts I get, the more I abuse the account, if that makes sense.
Hey, bro, at the end of the day, like I said, fair enough. And people will sit there and have their opinions, but if it works, it works, right? Yeah. If it works for you. I did have, luckily, because we obviously got to run this back, I did ask people, like, if you could obviously sit down with Rahat or ask him any questions, what would it be? So I just wanted to make sure we answer some of their questions, just because obviously we have that opportunity that most of the time we don't get. But now I got to find it. Some of them I think we've already covered, to be fair. Or thankfully you've already covered as well. But knowing my luck...
Too many notifications for you.
Right, you know how it is, obviously.
I don't know.
You know how it is. What are you talking about? You got more questions than me, I swear. Okay, so we talked about obviously what he risks on challenges versus funded. Oh, actually, no, we haven't. So what is your sort of process for challenges versus funded?
Right now, because like I was saying earlier, I've got that pot of money on challenges and verifications, I risk more. Okay. So I risk a little bit more. But then when I get to funded, obviously, like I mentioned, I tone down the risk. First payout is always aiming for 1 to 3%. And then typically speaking, I'm aiming for 3 to 5%. Yeah. After that. And then, depending on how I'm feeling, my mood, that's when I start getting more aggressive, and that's how I'm able to get the bigger payouts.
Of course. So like challenge verification wise, is it like 1%, 2%?
1%. Yeah. Sorry, challenge verification. 2%. 2%. But here
is it based though on your strategy?
Yeah.
So you know your strategy in terms of like the risk to reward and the data you have, it has a higher strike rate.
In general, it's 2%, but sometimes I do risk 1% and make a buffer, and then I'll risk the 2%. Okay. Yeah. Just depends on how much. If I'm doing like just 200k account, then it'll probably be 2%. Okay. Because
but it makes sense of your data. So like versus someone like I've given advice before where I've said 0.5%, but that advice is for someone who is like scalping and doing the small pip stop loss, and they have higher losses. So it gives them the psychology-wide breathing room not to stress, because otherwise, if you take like 4 or 5% losses, in drawdown, and you're scalping every day, 1% risk, that would be stressful. But if you're not,
you're going to hit your max daily in like a minute.
Well, that's one thing I want.
In and out.
Exactly. Yeah. No. Exactly. That's what I mean. Especially if they don't have the rules of like 1 or 2 trades a day, for example, then it just gets dangerous. But I wanted to ask you something you went through recently, which was I think you were 7% down on an FTMO account, and you went up to 12% onto the leaderboard, right? So what was that process like? From going, how do you come out of the drawdown?
Just trading my way out of drawdown. Just keep doing what I do.
Like, was there any fear of losing the account?
No, because I already made my money from that account. So if I lost the account, so what? I've made my money. If I wanted to, I could buy another one and do it again. But minus 7%. Go back to break. Whenever I'm in negative, I don't think about profit anymore. I think about break even. That's my focus. So instead of thinking of I need to make 3 to 5%, for example, it's I need to focus on getting this back to break even. And then from break even, we'll see what happens and we'll take it from there.
Okay.
So obviously I went to break even, and I think it was last week. I think I took 6 trades and 5 of them won.
Yeah.
So that was the catalyst for the 12%, and then obviously leaderboards. But
Incredible.
even the leaderboards is deceiving, like, because people will look at it thinking one day, obviously it's great to be on there, but it's not a great mindset to have.
Yeah. This is what I was going to ask you about the leaderboard. Like, what are your thoughts? Do you ever like want to get on a leaderboard?
I've been on FTMO twice and True Forex once 3 times. It's nice, but it doesn't do nothing. Like, my name's on the leaderboards.
Do they pay you for it or anything?
Nah.
Any extra
If
bonuses?
they paid me, then I would probably try more. But yeah, like I don't really care, to be honest.
That's it. Yeah, no, 100%. And would you say people take prop firm, too seriously?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They put on a pedestal, which is why I think most people fail in the first place. But it's at the same time, it's understandable because obviously it is life-changing amounts of money. So it's just that balance you've got to find. Because I had the same problem as well. I put it on a pedestal, but then, like I mentioned, once you just stop caring about them, in a humble way, you stop caring about them. You just end up trading better. That's how I see it, anyways.
I think you have to trade that way because obviously you can't trade with emotion, right? Or we're not robots, so we will have some form of emotion. But essentially, I mean, you can't be attached to the outcome. You have to just let it play out. And as part of that, I think the same mindset has to be given to the prop firms, right? And the accounts is that, as you've done, especially if you've managed to complete it, get your payout back, your refund, and even one payout, it's all risk-free and you're profitable and you're up. Yeah.
And if you blow the account, you can use the profit to reinvest and you just treat it like a business and you keep going. But that, like I said, that psychology is only for funded accounts. Don't start doing that on your personal accounts.
Of course, yeah.
Personal accounts is
a different ball.
You got to treat them differently.
Mm-hmm. In terms of this question, you've already answered this one, but what the multi-account management looks like, obviously having conservative or aggressive accounts, or is everything the same? It's obviously getting the buffer, the payouts, and based on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Someone else said, most importantly, and I think you've answered this one as well, when do you stop trading a funded account? What percentage do you stop at and wait for a reset? Is that something you do?
Yeah. Wait for a reset?
As in, like, when do you stop on a funded account?
So first, if I get a funded account, first payout, I aim for 1 to 3%. I've never lost a funded account. Like, every single time I've got a funded account, I've always got my refund back.
Okay, yes. Mm-hmm.
So I aim for 1 to 3%.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I get that payout, I'll trade it normally 3 to 5%. And then once I hit that, I just stop. Like, it's something so simple, it's so hard. And it takes so long for it to click, but you just stop. If anything, what I say to my friends is, once you make the 3 to 5%, just delete the account off your phone or wherever, and just buy another challenge. You'd rather lose another £500 on a challenge and lock in a
couple of thousand. Yeah,
it's still net profit.
Definitely. And obviously, in regards to that, one thing I would ask you, I don't know if anyone else has said it here, but in regards to, do you have like a payout coming and then you have another funded account that you just move on to?
Yeah.
And then therefore you kind of like lined up payouts, like one every week almost.
Not every week.
You're getting there. That's the aim. But you know what I mean? Like, they're scheduled. So, okay, this one's got a payout. I don't need to trade that anymore.
Yeah, basically, once I've made,
whatever you want,
the situation that I'm in, once I've made that, then that's when I will, that one's done, next one.
Fair enough.
Or I'll move to a challenge or whatever needs to be done.
No, fair enough, man. A lot of these we've answered. What was the... Okay, yeah. So I think I've asked you this slightly, but what was it that made you switch from an average trader or say losing trader to being funded and be able to withdraw consistently?
1 to 2 trade setups a day.
Yeah.
1 to 2 pairs. I'm risking 1 to 2% for me.
Definitely. No, I honestly think everyone should start there. That's what I think.
But the thing is, it's hard. Because you do it for 2, 3, 4 days a week, and then you just have that one day that you just snap. It's happened to my friend recently. He passed phase 1, passed phase 2. He's got his funded account. He was 3% down. The trade was 2 pips from his stop loss, 2 pips from his TP, reversed. I think it took him out of break even. He messaged me saying, "Okay, I need to stop trading before doing anything dumb." I said to him, "That's it. Call it a day. Come back tomorrow refreshed." 3-4 hours later, he went back. He started placing 10 lots on the 50k account, and he lost 5%. So now he's 8% down. When you have 2%, there's hope, but the probability-wise is you're going to lose it.
Yeah. But like again, like it's not easy. So like, what was that process like for you? How did you make it easier, or how did you make it smoother for you? You know, in terms of like the following that 1 to 2 trades and sticking to it. Like you said, you might do it for a few days, maybe a week.
Once you do it and you realize the power of it, that's when you know like this is the one. Like and it doesn't even have to be 1 to 2 trades a day. Some days I don't even take a trade. Like,
of course, yeah, you don't.
I'm just saying it as a general rule of thumb.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can tone it down or whatever you want to do with it, fit it to your personality. But as a general rule of thumb, that's what I say. But yeah.
So, like discretion-wise, there's an argument where people have, you can use a bit of discretion versus no discretion. So, like to this day, obviously, you follow that general rule of 1 to 2. Yeah. But as you mentioned earlier about intuition, will there be a discretionary trade where it might go to free?
100%. Yeah, 100%. I'm human. I'll make mistakes. Everyone's human. I'm not a robot. A lot of people say you have to trade like a robot. It's impossible. Like, we're humans. We have emotions. We're going to make mistakes. The whole point is you learn from your mistakes.
Definitely.
As cliche as it sounds, you learn from your mistakes.
No, it's true. It's true, man. Is there anything that, in terms of advice, obviously we've already given advice in terms of like the 1 to 2 trades a day, but we're coming towards the end of the podcast and the episode here. Is there anything that you would advise people out there or share with people out there who may be in that position you used to be in? As we said, we talked about, most people I think find themselves in that position where they're thinking about the money they've lost. What would you advise them? What would you tell them to do, or what helped you?
Okay, so if you're trying to go all in on, for me personally, I think with trading in general, you have to go all in or you just don't bother because it's a hard journey. So the problem I had was my ego was too big. So I didn't want to get a job, a corporate job. I never wanted to have like a 9 to 5. I remember I used to tell my mom like, I'm never going to get a 9 to 5. I'm going to make this work. But in reality, it is that whole journey, of mine has taken me longer. Because for me, it's taken me 3.5, 4 years to be profitable. 3.5 years. Yeah. Like if you can easily tone that down by just getting a job. If I got a job in the first place and I had that monthly payment coming in, it helped massively. But what was the question? I forgot.
In regards to like advice.
Honestly, just find what works for you. Another thing is, if you're not profitable, try your best to stay away from social media. Even though there's a lot of people out there that give good advice, you gotta realize if you lose a trade, if you're not profitable and you lose a trade, and then you go on Twitter or Instagram and you see someone made X amount, it's gonna make you think that you're doing something wrong. But it's just everyone's on their own journey. So honestly, just focus on what works for you. Find what works for you, whether that's 1 to 1, 1 to 10s, 1 to 100. If it works for you, just do that and stay focused on that and just journal your trades. Journaling is a big thing. You recognize patterns from it, use them patterns to make your trading better. And then, that's about it.
And at the end, we do like quick fire questions, right? And I remember I asked you, I've already asked you before. So
it took me like a minute to answer.
I know. So, but the one that's reoccurring is in regards to if you can meet anyone in the past, dead or alive, famous or not, whoever it would be, who would you want to meet and why?
Kobe Bryant. Changed it from last time.
That's
Kobe
right.
Bryant. Mindset is different, man. Different gravy. Like the fact that he used to like wake up at 5 a.m. Like you got to be obsessed with what you do to an extent to make it work.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't realize, they think you're crazy, but I think you just have to be like that. And the way he used to wake up at 6 a.m., 5 a.m., whatever, go training. He'll be the first one in and last one out. That sort of mindset. Like I like that. Like even generally, like when I see successful people, I like asking them, what sort of struggles you went through. It relates to me. Like I want to know. Like I want to compare it to mine.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So and then obviously he's a legend himself. So that's just history.
Definitely, yeah, no, I understand it completely. I actually didn't know about like Kobe Bryant for years. I knew who he was. I knew he was a basketball player, but I didn't know anything else.
I don't watch basketball.
Yeah. It was my friend who showed me.
I just see over Instagram the motivational.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Pages you always see.
Even then, like I never saw them until my friend Joe. His name Joe Olashugba. He showed me. He's obsessed with that Mamba mentality. He lives it though. He like proper lives and breathes that.
I think it's because we're from the UK. It's not as much. But obviously, the people in the US that you always see are like.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah. They're sports galore. They know everything. But But like, what would your top 3 tips to people trying to get funded? What would that be?
Try taking the challenge, or not, sorry, try taking prop firms off a pedestal. I know it sounds hard, but I don't know how you do it. That's the thing. Like it just happens with experience. But yeah, try taking prop firms off a pedestal, and just focus on your system, your edge. Try keeping your trading as clean as possible, and 1 or 2 trades a day, 1 or 2%, and 1 or 2 pairs focus on. Definitely. Unless you're a swing trader. Swing trader, they can trade 30 pairs or whatever. Because obviously they're entering
once a week, a couple times a week. Yeah.
But like as a day trader, as a rule of thumb, that's why. Just stick to that.
What would be your message to Mr. Raja Banks? I'm gonna make sure he watches it. What would you say to him?
I'll say to him, hopefully I see you in Dubai one day.
That's it.
And what else? I'll join Dominion Markets next, because I'm with IC Markets at the moment.
You love that. But yeah, no, it's interesting though. But definitely, I think you guys should connect. So definitely, if maybe I'll make it. Maybe we can put a round table together.
I don't think I'm at that level yet.
Nah, you're there, man. You're there. I'm
not at that level yet.
There you are.
A lot of work to be done. Just getting started right now. For me personally.
That's what I like though. What's that like in terms of mindset? That'll be our final question in regards to, there'll be people out there, and I would say you're successful. There'll be people out there who definitely look at you and say, this guy, I want to be like him.
I get quite like here and there, I get messages like, I'm an inspiration. It's like, I don't know, I just find it crazy. Like I just sit in my room and I click a button. Like as cliche as it sounds, that's what I do. But like, people are like,
how do you keep that mindset of, as you said, I still got more growing to do? It's like me saying like, hey, let's say if I called you, or after this podcast wraps up, I said to you, I've got Raj already, let's do a podcast together, or let's do a meeting or whatever. And as you just said there, like, I'm not at that level yet. So what's that mindset? Because there'll be people out there who be like, what's he talking about? Like, I'll say it, like, what are you talking about? You know, you're at that level, bro. You know what I mean? But like, what is that mindset in terms of you want to grow more? Like, how do you keep that hunger alive?
I think it's a struggle. Once you've been through the struggle, you just end up being, I don't know, I'm just humble. I don't like when people say like good things about me. Obviously, I appreciate and everything, but I know that I gotta stay focused, because like there's always new levels to reach. Not even just trading, like other business ventures I want to get into. But right now, like I'm just fully focused on trading. Like I would rather focus on one thing and do it properly, and then move on to the next. And like, you know, the way people say millionaires have 7 streams of income. Yeah, it doesn't mean do drop shipping, trading, X, Y, Z. It means do one, do it properly, and then move on to the next, do it properly, and so like that. But yeah,
that's it. No, I understand it. I think obviously, you know, as you say, when you've been through the journey, especially the depths of the journey,
it's the part people don't see on social media.
Yeah,
obviously they just see the numbers, payouts, and think, oh, he's living nice, but you gotta work for it, man. You gotta work for everything in life.
That's it. That's the best message to finish on. And again, thank you for coming down again. I'm no doubt we'll do it again, and I'm gonna get to work on sorting a round table out in Dubai. You know, you won't be able to.
I'm going to Dubai next week, Thursday.
Okay, I won't be able to put it there. I won't be able to do it that fast.
You're going to Miami, right? Miami,
in a couple, week and a half, something like that. Yeah.
So you'll be in Miami, I'll be in Dubai.
I'll be at the FX Summit. Yeah. I'm excited. I think it's gonna be a great networking opportunity.
Network with like-minded people.
Yeah.
Big thing. It makes a big like. Once you start, because traders understand traders, right? If you explain to your friend who's not trading, or like I've lost 2, he's been thinking, what's this guy on about? But obviously, when you explain it to a trader, they know they've been through it. So
I think so. Did you ever have any of those moments in your journey?
Yeah, because all of my, because obviously, like I mentioned, the 2 friends that I had before, they didn't trade for like 3 years. So it was just me trading. So it's lonely.
So there wasn't really those moments then where you conversed with other traders and stuff.
Oh no, now that's the main reason why I started like using social media, just to connect with other people.
Well, I'm glad you did, bro, because like you said, it's a powerful thing. Yeah, you know,
if you use social media correctly, it can change your life as well.
You can, yeah. I think it's just like the trading, just like the pedestal stuff. Yeah. You have to know how to use it. I think.
How to use it.
I've been guilty of it before. You know, and as you were saying earlier, like my phone blows up and it's insane.
Even right now, my phone I don't know what it is, it keeps buzzing. I put it on vibrate.
But like you said, you have to be careful of how we use it. But it's very powerful. It is a powerful tool. But again, thank you for coming down, bro. We will do it again. Enjoy Dubai, and we'll connect soon, hopefully. And well, thank you everyone for tuning in. Again, make sure you subscribe, turn on your notification bell for every episode drop. You do not want to miss what's coming. Drop your comment below with the biggest takeaway you had. What did you learn from Rahat's journey and his advice? And make sure you subscribe. And until next time, take care.